Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And if you've been with me since January of 2023, you will know that Embracing the Fight is about normalizing the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. And you ought to know that people don't go around talking about what they have wrong with them, because if they do, they feel like they're being judged, and people ask them really, really impersonal questions, and they make them feel all sorts of ways. But it shouldn't be that way. So what I'm trying to do is get us to normalize those conversations so we can save and heal lives. So take a moment to click like, click share, click subscribe. And if you're interested in being on Embracing the Fight, just send me an email, shoot me a DM, shoot me a text. Well, I don't know about a text. I'll let you send me a DM. You can reach out to me on Facebook at Embracing the Fight, or you can send me an email at operations@diversitydesign.com. Now that I've gotten all that out of the way, you all see that I have a very beautiful lady on the screen with me today. And I'm going to allow her this moment to introduce herself and to tell you guys how we met. So go ahead. Who are you? How do we meet?
Hi. So my name is Kristen Gordon, and I know Erica. Oh gosh, I'm almost scared to say for how many years, because then I'll tell my age. But my whole life, I've known her. She and my best friend. She and my sister are best friends since like elementary school. We are from the east side of Macon. So our families know each other. We have a long history. So amazing person. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. It is a pleasure that you decided to come on and talk with us today, because, there was an episode where there was a young lady on that was talking about, trust your gut. And when she started saying that, there was someone, who truly inspired her when she was going through, her issue with her cancer. And she kept describing it. I was like, that sounds so familiar. That sounds like Krissy. So before we get into that, though, you were in your 20s, married, you had one child, and then you had one baby that was 3 days old. And you're at the doctor, just getting a routine checkup. How did that end up turning out? What happened?
Okay, so before I got to the doctor, my appointment was coming up. And I was at home. I had just had Justin, and now Justin is 14. But at the time, he was, maybe like a day old. And I noticed like a small bump, like right here on my neck. Might be on this side. I think it's on this side, but it was just a really small bump on my neck. I was brushing my teeth. So I'm like, it's okay. So the next day, I go in the mirror and brushing my teeth, and I look again, and the knot is just a little bit bigger than it was the day before. So I asked my husband at the time, and I said, is this not like? Does it look like it's growing? Like, has it always been there? And I'm just, I don't know. Is this something that came like right after I had Justin? He's just 2 days old. Like, what is this? Is this normal? Like, I don't remember having this with Lexi. I don't know what this is. So day 3, the day before I go to the doctor, the knot is getting bigger. It's actually protruding out of my neck at this point, like right here, it's coming out, kind of like a half a moon, it looks like. So I'm like, this knot is like bigger, and it's really swollen. So he was like, well, we're going to the doctor tomorrow. We'll just find out. So we get to the doctor, and I'm like, I got this little lump in my neck. I don't know where it came from. I'm thinking maybe it's something that just popped up after Justin. Maybe it's just an infection or something. So the doctor's like, well, I'm going to refer you to a surgeon. So I'm like, a surgeon? Like, why are you referring me to a surgeon? So in my mind, like, maybe he knows something that I don't, like for him to refer me to a surgeon, because I just don't understand why I would be going there. So I said, well, why would I go to see a surgeon? Like, why can't you tell me? So he's like, I deal with the bottom half of your body, not the top. So I'm like, okay. So I go to the surgeon like a week later. I go to the surgeon, and he says, I'm not sure what this is, but we're going to do a biopsy. So I'm like, not familiar with what, why we're doing. I'm still green. I'm like, why are we doing a biopsy? I still am not understanding where we're going with this. So he goes out, he comes back in the room, and he has this long needle, and I'm terrified. And my husband's holding my hand, and he sticks the needle. He's like, "We got to get into the tissue, so it's gonna hurt," and it hurt. I mean, it was horrible. So he goes in, and he pulls it out. So he's like, "We got to get one more because I don't think I went in far enough." So he goes back in my neck and pulls out even more tissue. And he's like, "I want to make sure that I have everything that, I need to determine what this mass is that's in your neck." And at this point, it's gotten bigger than what it was.
Mhm.
Um, so I go home, and now we're at this waiting game. And it probably took about 2 weeks
Mhm.
before the test results came back. So I got a phone call from the surgeon. They asked me to come in. So I go in. Um, I haven't been to, I go for my routine checkups, physicals, and things like that, but never have I been to at that point in my life, had I been to a doctor
Mhm.
that was a specialist.
Okay.
So this is when I learned about bedside manner.
Got
So I'm sitting in this cold room, and I'm waiting on the surgeon to come in.
Mhm.
And he walks in the room with me, and he's a really tall guy, and I'm sitting down, I'm sitting next to my husband, and he looks at me. He's just standing there over me, and he said, "Well, it's not good news." And that's exactly how he said it. His face
Oh.
had zero expression on it. And I'm just looking at him like, "Okay, well, what is it?" So he said, "You have cancer."
Mhm.
And after he said it, I fell on the ground, like not laid out, but I fell to my knees.
Mhm.
And I put my head in my hands, and I was crying. And he said, "I'm gonna leave you for a while." And he walked out of the room.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just sitting on the floor, and my husband's like holding me, and I'm crying. Um, and I didn't know what to think. Like my baby was 2 weeks old at that point at home with my mom and dad, waiting on me to come back to tell them, what the results are.
Mhm.
And I had to get myself together. And at that point, I didn't know, they don't know what stage it is. They don't know anything at that point. He's the surgeon. He has to give the results, to an oncologist. So he was the nurse came in. She said, "You need to get an oncologist."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Well, how do I find an oncologist? Like, who? I don't know what I'm supposed to do."
Mhm.
And she was like, "You can go online and look up some." And she walked out.
Wow. What in the world?
Yeah.
Okay,
So that was my experience with finding out that I had it.
so we're gonna back up just a little bit because this is episode 66, Child's
Mhm.
Play. And I want you to kind of talk about, your experience first so you could explain why we named this episode Child's Play.
Okay. So we named this episode Child Play because Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is the type of cancer that I was diagnosed with, is a child cancer. It's a form of leukemia. Most children get this particular type of cancer. It's not common in adults. So the fact that I got this cancer is very rare for someone at 24 years old, even though that's not old. It's older than what most people get it. From my understanding, from what my oncologist told me, is normally babies who get this, type of leukemia up until about 18 years old. So for me to get it at that age was very rare. And also, my baby, I had just had him, so this is child's play.
And then you say he's a cancer as well. He's
He is a cancer. That is his sign. Yeah, yeah. So that's him. So I went home, and I started when I walked in the door, my dad was there. And my dad, if anybody knows me, he was not the most affectionate person, but he's a loving person. Was a loving person. Like he's passed now, but he was such a loving person. And he really didn't say I love you too much. I think this was probably the first time I heard him say it. So I walked in the door, and I think my husband had already called them and told them. So when I came in and I was crying, I fell to the floor, and he held me. I will never forget that moment. My dad held me. He told me how much he loved me. I will always remember that moment. So I got online, and I started looking for an oncologist.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, thinking about insurance and thinking about just how do we go about doing this? So anyway, my husband actually purchased a package through Aflac. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Aflac, but he had purchased an extra package. It was someone selling Aflac in their food in their cafeteria at work. So
Good thing.
he was right, and I didn't know much about it, but he was like, my boss was telling me that what I have has a cancer package in it. So I'm like, okay, Lord, you setting me up, Lord.
Like, come on through.
So this was the most exciting part about this whole cancer journey. So Aflac actually wrote us a $10,000 check
Mhm.
just for me being diagnosed. It was in our account like within 3 days after I sent them my pathology report,
Mhm.
and they paid me for every treatment that I went to. Every treatment I got a check. Maybe it was like 250 or 350 that they gave me.
Mhm.
But I want to back up just a little bit. So my first doctor appointment, I want to share this because I think that it may be something that's encouraging to other people.
Okay.
So my first doctor appointment, I got there. It was a doctor named Cheryl Jones. She retired last year, and I cried like a baby when she retired because I go back every year.
Mhm.
So I walk in the office and I am like, I am pouring in tears. Like, like, what am I doing here? Like, I didn't know young people get cancer. This is for old people. What did I do? We always say that, it's like,
Mhm.
what did I do to deserve this? Like, I'm a good person. That's what I can think about. And I'm sitting on the table and she walked in and I said, how long do I have to live? Like I have these little babies. I just want them to know me. Like if I can just, let them know me. I just want to be here, long enough for them to know and remember me. And she was like, stop talking like that. That's what you're gonna
Right.
do first.
Yep.
And she said, and you should be thanking God because you got the best cancer. So I'm looking like, what? She
Like,
said,
is
yes,
it?
she said, have you done any research? And I was like, no, I was too scared to do any research. Like, I don't know, cancer means I'm gonna die. Like that's what was in my mind at 24. So she said, treatments have come a long way.
Mhm.
And the type of cancer you have has a 90% cure rate. So I'm like,
That is great to hear for sure.
Lord. So when she told me that, my tears started drying up.
Mhm.
And she was like, you got to have faith. She said, and you have to be positive through this experience.
Right.
Your attitude affects your health. And if you want to get better, you're young.
Mhm.
And the fact that you are so young, you can fight this. And she was like, you do have stage 4. That's when I found out what stage I had.
Mm.
It was in my neck, it was in my sternum, it was in my pelvis.
Mhm.
Um, and I want to say it was in my arms, in both of my arms. We
Mhm.
couldn't have surgery because it was in so many places in my body.
Mhm.
So we did 20 months of chemotherapy,
Okay.
and then we had to do what they call cleanup chemo as well. Every time I went back to get my test results from whenever I did treatments, it was clearing up. It was clearing up every single treatment.
Mhm.
I got really heavy in prayer,
Mhm.
and my relationship with God became stronger. It was a definitely a life changing experience for me. It really showed me how precious life is. It increased my faith. Um, it really turned me into a different person. I started journaling, and I wanted to help other people. And I know Catherine, my friend, was on here. We were best friends as kids. And when I found out that she was diagnosed with cancer, I was like, what can I do? So we sent her a care package.
Mhm.
Um, a couple of friends, we got together and we sent her a care package. And, I call her all the time. I pray for her. My kids pray for her. And, cancer is just something that's so near and dear to my heart. Like,
Mhm.
it, even though no one wants to be diagnosed with cancer, but that testimony that I have from having cancer
Mhm.
is the most beautiful thing that I've ever had in my life. And when I was talking to my sister, the one that passed, Angela, I kept saying, why is this happening to me? And she told you to read the book of Job, because you
Okay.
don't know who Job is. And I did. When I read all that stuff that happened to him, I'm like, oh my God.
Mhm.
And that was a great man. Like I thought I was a great person. Oh no, honey. Joe was the
Yeah.
great person. And to have to endure all that, it just goes to show that we all are going to have trials and tribulations. And it's about how we handle those trials and those tribulations. And I came across a prophet. I don't remember his name, but he told me, he said, "You're angry with somebody." And I was like, no, I'm okay. So it's like, no, you are full of anger and hatred. Like, I don't know who is causing you to have all this anger and hatred. He said, but that's where your cancer came from.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, I don't get it. So he said, when you're angry and you are stressed out and you're upset and you're mad all the time, that anger and that hostility and that hatred has to go somewhere. So it morphs into your body, and yours went into your lymph nodes. And when it comes out, it's trying to get out of your body. You have to release it.
Mhm. So in other words, you should be running around yelling at folks and fighting and stuff, releasing this anger, because I feel twice. So that means I'm manifesting some serious anger over here. But no, I have a couple of questions. So when you first started talking about the guy doing the surgeon doing the biopsy, was it a fine needle aspiration biopsy? Because when you said it was painful and they stick the needle in and they pull the tissue out, he didn't numb it up or anything like that? Did they
He
even?
did numb it, but it still hurt. Like he numbed it. It still was painful. Yeah, it was painful. I think the most painful thing that happened to me was the bone marrow biopsy.
Okay. And what was that like?
My God, it is the worst pain I've ever felt. It was worse than childbirth.
So they
I've
didn't
never
put you
felt
to sleep?
anything. Hmm?
They didn't put you to sleep for it?
Oh no, you're wide awake and it goes into your hip.
Mhm.
I was laying on a table and the nurse practitioner came in and she numbed my hip, but there's no way to numb a bone.
Uh-uh.
So she could not get it. I could feel the needle turning to the side because she couldn't get it to go in my bone. And they were like, listen, the patients in the waiting room can hear you. You're scaring everybody.
You were screaming that loud. Goodness gracious.
Screaming. So my husband said, "Hey, no one else is gonna poke her like that." He said, "Someone, you better get somebody in here that knows." So the doctor actually came in and he got it on the first try, and I felt that needle. It was so long, like I can't even describe it. But when it went into my bone, he went further and further because they have to make sure that with it being stage 4, I don't know if they do that with every stage, but with it being stage 4 and spreading so quickly, it was an aggressive cancer throughout my body. They had to make sure it wasn't in my bones, and thank God it wasn't.
Mhm. I mean, it's just amazing to me because you said it was in your arms, it was in your pelvis. How, I mean, what did they do? PET scan, CT scan, MRI? What did they use to tell you, where it had gone to?
So we did the PET scans, we did the MRIs, and we tested maybe 2 weeks straight, and we did blood tests as well before she determined what type of cancer treatments we were going to do.
Mhm.
And I was the youngest person in all of my chemo treatments,
Mhm.
and I want to say 4 days a week,
Mhm.
and it was probably for about, I went at 9 and it was over at 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how
So
did
yeah.
you feel after it was over? I said, how did you feel after it was over? Were you tired? Were you, just like normal? Because you had little kids.
I did. So my family, that support system is everything. So my aunt
Mhm.
kept Lexi. Lexi was 2 at the time. She kept Lexi for me probably maybe about 3 weeks, maybe about a month actually. She kept
Wow.
Lexi. And
Mhm.
my mom kept Justin, my newborn. So my 2-week-old baby
Mhm.
was gone from me, and I wasn't able to nurse him. And I nursed Lexi till she was walking. So that was hard for me because I'm like, I don't get to nurse my baby. That's like your bonding time.
Yeah.
Um, so my mom kept Lexi maybe for like kept Justin for about maybe 3 months because I was just so exhausted. I couldn't get up in the night with him.
Mhm.
I just didn't have the energy. I was losing my hair. I was depressed. I was gaining a lot of weight. I'm like, I'm already bald head. Now I'm gonna be fat. And I kept trying to exercise, but I was exhausted. And she's like, Krissy, you'll never lose weight. You're on steroids. And the steroids was so that I wouldn't lose weight because I was so sick and I was throwing up a lot. So they gave me the steroids to keep weight on me. But one thing that a lot of people don't know about, I'm sure everyone knows that when you are doing chemotherapy, your immune system is compromised. And if your white blood cell count is too low when you go to the doctor, they won't do chemotherapy. So it's like you're set back. And anyone who's in chemotherapy doesn't want to be set back because that means it's a longer recovering process. So one thing that I was told by one of the nurses, she said, ask the doctor about Neupogen shots. So I didn't know what that was. What's it called? She said Neupogen shots. They're not gonna cover it, but you have to pay for it out of pocket. So I asked my doctor about it, and she was like, "Oh, well, we can do that, but it's really expensive." So I'm like, "Okay, well, that's not up for you to decide. Like, tell me how much it is, because I want it, whatever it is, so I can get my chemo." And it's like $350 a shot. And you have to pay that every time you go if your, white blood cell count is low. And it's a booster shot to make white blood cells come up in your body. So then you're able to do the chemo. So I did do that when I could. And a lot of my family, pitched in and helped to pay for that. So, it's called a Neupogen shot and you can still get your chemo. You pay that. I don't know if it's still $350. That was 15 years ago. Probably double that by now. But you can still ask for it so you can get your chemo.
Okay. And then as you were going through these physical changes, when you were losing your hair and you were gaining weight, did you try, any natural things to help you to, get your hair back or to lose weight? Or did you become vegan or vegetarian or anything like that?
So I did stop eating. My nutritionist told me not to eat red meat. I still don't eat it to this day. Told me not to eat red meat and not to eat pork. So something in red meat and something in pork activates cancer cells. So we all have cancer cells in our body, but those two particular meats, they activate the cells. She said, so for people who have had it, that is what you want to stay away from. So I stopped eating that. I did start juicing. My mom bought me a juicer. None of these things helped me lose weight, but it was better for me. So I did increase my vegetable and my fruit intake, which I needed the antioxidant. So that was helpful for me. I didn't try any products with my hair. My hair just kind of, it was so depressing just to even think about it. But I would be in the shower and it would just, come out. Or when I wake up, it would be in the bed. Or when I brush my hair. Like I never lost all of my hair, but I was real Fire Marshal Bill-ish. Like it was really thin. So I finally cut it out because I couldn't stand to, look at it coming out all the time. So I did finally cut my hair, but now wigs are so stylish. And back then it was what the old people wore. So I didn't want to wear a wig. And the ones that they did have were synthetic and looked like a mop. So I would just put a wig on and I would always wear a hat with it because I always thought they looked so ridiculous.
So what did you do, to actually lose weight? Because I know everybody can't see you on the screen, but she's perfect 10, model size. I mean, you if you see her now, you would have no idea that she was ever carrying more weight than she wanted to.
Oh,
so how did you actually, you're welcome. How did you actually lose it though?
So I really just started exercising really heavy. It was definitely the exercise. I did change the way I eat as well. Of course, I don't eat fried foods. I don't eat, pork and red meat, and I don't eat heavy. So I eat a really small breakfast. I exercise. I was exercising a lot. I probably, after I finished everything, I would exercise on my lunch break at work, like outside walking around the building. I would go jogging, like, wake up an hour early just to get up and go exercise. It was really the exercise more so the food, because I still kind of ate the things I enjoyed. I did cut out sugar,
Mhm.
but exercising was the biggest piece for me. Just working out like every day,
Okay.
every day.
And it's been 15 years cancer free, right?
15 years, 15 years. Now my hair did grow back. It was a different texture than what it was before I lost it. Like my hair used to be really thick and full, and now it's like curly. I don't know. It's weird, the way that it grew back. But it's definitely a blessing. Like I have told my testimony so many times, and I'm so grateful to be able to be here and to be able to share my testimony with other people. Like, I just pray that us as a people, most Black people, when they see something wrong or if they feel something wrong, one thing I remember Catherine saying, trust your body. Like if something feels different, if something feels wrong, don't wait. Like it's going to get worse, whatever it is, like the aches and the pains, or the bumps is the biggest sign. And we as women have to do a better job with checking, for lumps in our body. And if you don't know where your lymph nodes are, I won't go through it because there are so many places in your body. But the places that I check, and I check on my kids too. Actually, I just had to take Justin to the doctor today because I found one on his under his arm. But I check my kids too because they sometimes they look at things and they're like, I don't know what this is, and maybe they're scared. So as parents, we definitely have to check our kids, like right here behind the ears, our lymph nodes, right here in our neck, in your arms, behind your knees, in your groin area, under, around your breast, under your breast are the places that you want to check for swollen glands.
Okay.
So,
Did you experience any pain though? I know you said you noticed the lump there, but did you ever like feel anything different? Like, oh, this hurts, and gotta get it.
never.
Never.
It was never painful. And it didn't move.
Mhm.
It didn't move. It was solid, and it didn't hurt at all. Like when she touched on it, like I have my scar still here from, the biopsy, because it was kind of a big cut or whatever. But it never moved and it wasn't painful. And cancer doesn't hurt.
Mhm.
So if you do have something, on you, some kind of mass or lump or knot, it's not going to be painful.
Mhm. And you didn't have any unexplained bruising or anything afterwards, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't. But one other sign that I did have that I didn't pay attention to, I did keep getting infections. And my doctor was telling me that whenever, like my pregnancy with Justin, I got a lot of infections. And he said, when you do get a lot of infections and
Mhm.
you're taking the antibiotics, it'll stop working, and that infection settles in your body, and that can cause it as well. So be careful of that.
Okay. Well, is there any other advice or anything that you want to say to someone who just found out that they have Hodgkin's lymphoma to help them get through it?
Definitely. So if you found out recently that you have Hodgkin's lymphoma, be grateful. You have the best cancer. It is definitely, it's a 90% cure rate. And I think with any cancer, not even just Hodgkin's,
Mhm.
we as a people have to increase our faith.
That's right.
And, we can't worry about the outcome of something, because even though we don't know what tomorrow brings, we know who holds tomorrow. And, you just have to definitely believe that God is able and that God is a healer. And when you know that and you believe that, you will be healed. You will be healed. But, if there's any doubt in your mind that, woe is me, you cannot do that. And I know it's easier said than done, but I know because I'm a living testimony. And I know for a fact that, changing your mindset as hard as it is to know that I had stage 4 and still get up with a smile on my face. And Lord knows it was hard, but when you know the bigger picture and you know who is in control,
Mhm.
you'll have a better grasp on life. So, don't look at this as a death sentence. It doesn't matter what stage it is because the doctor doesn't have the last say. God has the last say, and you pray about it every single day. You pray about it when you wake up. You pray about it throughout the day. You pray about it before you go to sleep. And, I always ask God not to let me have selfish prayers. I pray for everybody. I pray for politicians. I pray for people with cancer, for diabetes, for AIDS, any illness that I can think of when I'm praying. I pray for those people. So just don't pray a selfish prayer. Pray for everyone when you pray for yourself.
Girl, that's a good word because I know sometimes I get down there and I start thinking about, everything that's going on in my life, and I find out at the end, I'm like, all I prayed for was me. I'm sorry, God, let
Yeah.
me start over because it's not just about me. It's about
Yeah.
everything that's going on around me and how I can affect it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the people who are watching Embracing the Fight?
I don't have anything else. I just pray that I can be a blessing to someone else. And I pray that God use me and continue to use me. That's all I got.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to sit with
Thank you for
me.
having me.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Embracing the Fight, episode 66, Child's Play. I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.